What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more fighting. Now, as we gear up for UFC 202, I'm really getting excited. I want to see Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz Part 2. I think it's a really good matchup. I like where we're at. I don't think Conor McGregor, he didn't have that reality check that he had in the first fight. I mean, he picked an opponent. He was supposed to fight RDA, then last minute replacement. I know he didn't see that coming. He didn't see himself losing to Nate Diaz, right? And to his credit, a lot of people get it twisted. That was a competitive fight. He had Nate Diaz leaking in that first round. He had some brutal strikes and he was looking good in that first round, but he was trying to put too much mustard, too much emphasis on each punch, and he was in there with a guy who doesn't really get hurt. His losses aren't from punches, you know what I mean? So that was a kind of a dumb game plan, and the added weight gain and stuff, I think Conor McGregor gassed out and he was ripe for the pick and started getting hurt with when Nate Diaz started firing in the second round. Then he ended up getting submitted. So the thing that's intriguing about this fight is both fighters now have a full training camp, including Nate Diaz, because you got to keep in mind, he beat him with 10, 11 days notice, right? I heard he was in Mexico or something vacationing, and he got the call for Conor McGregor when RDA pulled out with the ankle injury or whatever the situation was. So I give a lot of props, mad props to Nate Diaz for being ballsy. Not that he didn't want the fight. He called him out. He says, Conor McGregor, I'll fight your fucking ass, after he beat Johnson on that UFC Fox card. So it's not that he didn't want it, but that's what happens in the world of fighting, not only just UFC, but also boxing. Sometimes these promoters and these fights come about unexpectedly, and they try to catch you with your pants down, you know what I mean, so to speak, with little time to prepare, and the other guy had a full camp. So I really like this fight just because they both have a full camp, and Conor McGregor had a full camp the first time. However, the biggest thing is he has a full camp preparing for this guy, this style. He knows what he's up against, instead of he's supposed to fight RDA and he's preparing for that and then he's going in there with a different guy. But no excuses. I'm glad Nate Diaz won. I'm from Northern California, and I think it's going to be an uphill battle for Conor McGregor, especially because of the weight. He's going in there against a guy who I've met him. I met his brother. I was in their gym. Cool, real cool dudes. And he's naturally the bigger guy. And he's tough, you know what I mean? People that grow up around Stockton, there's a lot of gangland activity and stuff. There's some rough parts around there. That's why they have the Stockton slap and stuff like that. You see it in their interviews. The Diaz brothers, they're no nonsense kind of guys, you know what I mean? And they speak their mind, they're uncensored, and it's gonna be a good fight. But here's a progress picture, Ego Weight Watcher style, of Nate Diaz currently, and he looks like he's in good shape. He looks definitely better shape than his last fight with Conor McGregor, because now he's focused in. And I think part of the motivation, personally, this is my personal opinion, for Nate Diaz, I think part of the motivation is he looks at Conor McGregor as a gimmick. I think he's really going in there seeing like, man, I've been on pay-per-view cards. The Diaz brothers were the UFC at one point. We were the guys that everyone was checking for, and we headlined, and we were doing this and making noise and on pay-per-view. And I think as Conor McGregor emerged and Ronda Rousey slowly, and then Nate Diaz, his brother Nick Diaz, got in trouble with the ban marijuana and stuff, they kind of fell out of the limelight. And I think the Diaz brothers, namely Nate, started to resent that, started to resent the fact that, like, man, I'm on the UFC undercard, they didn't even put my face on the poster, I'm not getting these types of salaries. Meanwhile, Conor McGregor's getting record-setting UFC purses, like a guaranteed $1 million plus, and this and that. So I think Nate Diaz is really training hard because he wants to prove that it was no fluke and kind of expose Conor McGregor as kind of a gimmick, like, I'm just a better fighter. So I think that's added motivation. Plus, Nick Diaz, his ban was removed and he's coming back. So I think that should be added motivation for Nate Diaz as he trains, because he can work with his brother. He knows his brother's coming back and there's strength in numbers. So I think that's a good tandem, and I think it's I like what I'm seeing from Nate Diaz a lot. And it's going to be an uphill battle for Conor McGregor, especially because he's trying to, some fighters are too bold for their own good. Like, he didn't go in and fight a guy he beat like Jose Aldo in a rematch. He's going in against the guy that beat him at the same parameters, the same 170, things like that. And Nate Diaz looks like he's on some no nonsense type training. So it should be a good UFC 202. I don't know who I'm leaning towards in this particular fight, but I'm expecting fireworks. Drop your predictions below. Let me know who you think would win and come out victorious in this particular fight. Drop in the comment section, share the video, like the video as always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.